Phase 5 of the Burning Crusade is nearly here, and it's time to get you completely ready. I've compiled all the secrets that pro players are doing to get their gold and gear ready. Keep watching, and by the end of this video, you'll be the most prepared player in your guild.
You are not prepared!
The first thing you need to do is get gold. You need to get as much gold as possible to get new PvE and PvP pieces enchanted. Also, the Sunwell patch will have many more GDKP runs than other phases, which will require lots of gold to be stored up. Speaking of GDKPs, the fastest way to get gold in TBC is to run GDKPs every single week. I've better explained how GDKPs work in my GDKP gold making video. Just click the card on the video to learn more, or click the link in the description. If you want to get gold in other ways, you have plenty of options for TBC Classic gold farms. Boosting other players is very profitable, particularly Scarlet Monastery, Strat Home, and Slave Pen boost to get everybody's alts to level 70. Meanwhile, any profession where you create something can be very profitable. For example, cooking raid foods or making potions. Gathering professions like herbalism are also especially profitable due to raid consumable prices. Sunwell Plateau is a harder raid, so consumable prices will spike upward. This also applies to your prep. Just make sure you buy your raid consumables early when they're cheap. The more wipes that guilds have, the more they'll need to burn through all those consumables. Now that you've sorted out your gold, you need to figure out your guild situation. This is the time to ask the hard questions. Are you confident in your guild actually completing Sunwell? Sunwell Plateau will be extremely difficult and taxing on guilds. If your guild is barely making it through Black Temple, you may be running into some future problems. Even if you're in a top-notch guild, you'll still need to figure out if your guild plans to commit until Wrath Classic. One worst-case scenario for your guild would be to clear Sunwell Plateau, and then your entire guild just burns out, and you're left holding the bag. Speaking of guilds, this is a great time to decide if you need to respec or make any changes. If you're a Resto Shaman, for example, and your guild is really struggling to find an enhancement shaman, this could be the time to respec and save your guild. If your guild has some big holes that need to be patched up, you could also swap in one of your alts, for example. A good example of this back in phase 2 was my guild. We had 2 Resto Druids, and one of the Resto Druids switched to Resto Shaman, which really helped our guild out. For better or worse in Sunwell, there's just not a lot of room for redundancy. All right, so your gold's in order, your guild situation is sorted. It's time to plan out your gear. The first thing you need to do is fix all the holes with your current gear, from the missing enchants to the missing gems and the tier pieces. If you're missing epic gems, don't worry, I've got a secret tip that will fix all your gem issues. Just keep on watching. Next up, you need to make your best in slot list for Sunwell Plateau. One quick way to scout out BIS loot is to use the Google document from Phasers. This document shows approximate BIS for all specs in Phase 5, so you can easily see what might be worth prioritizing. You should look through the top 5 or so options for each gear slot to get an accurate idea of your choices. Also, I'd recommend going through the Sunwell drops on the wiki to figure out exactly what you want. One other gear note is that you need to figure out what gear you need for Wrath Classic leveling. If you're a Resto Druid in TBC, for example, and you plan on switching to Feral in Wrath, you'll want to make a BIS list now and talk to your officers. All right, so the next prep we need to do is professions. This is the time to pick professions for Phase 5 and beyond. In Phase 5, there are new jewel crafting BIS pieces, new leatherworking BIS pieces, and new tailoring BIS pieces as well. I'd highly recommend referring back to Phaser's sheet to get an idea of what options are available in each slot. Also, don't forget about those upgraded engineering goggles for all specs, which give you BIS and near BIS headpieces. Personally, I'll be running enchanting and engineering for now on my Resto Druid and my Holy Priest, but there are great arguments for crafting Sunwell gear, and I may well change my mind. Before we get to some big preparation secrets you need for Phase 5, please hit that like button, so that we can keep all these Wrath videos coming. And if you like this sort of content, hit that notification bell as well. So much more great Wrath content is planned. All right, so let's get to PvP, and this is a really important prep step. You need to get 75,000 honor and max out your marks as soon as possible. My favorite strategies to get honor are to do the PvP dailies. The random daily battleground is amazing for honor, and you should do it on every single character you have. Meanwhile, the daily towers quest is 943 honor per day, and you can get this done on multiple characters. Another important PvP tip is to do double weekends. Of course, you'll get extra honor from battlegrounds when you do double weekends, but I also love doing double weekends because you'll get a variety of marks. Turning in one of every single mark is the best way to get honor, so you want to have a lot of every type. All right, so it's time for an open secret. You need to be collecting as many badges of justice as possible for your gear and epic gems. All epic gems will only be 15 badges of justice each, so save up your badges for Sunwell's launch. Meanwhile, veterans off pieces for PvP will also be purchasable for badges of justice. I'd recommend having at least 200 badges of justice saved up, but the more the better. Also, it's very likely Blizzard will throw us a bone and let us swap tier 6 main set pieces for season 3 vengeful gear, so keep any of those pieces if you get extra. By now, you should be the most prepared player in Phase 5. I've got just one question for you. Do you like to go into new phases and expansions fully prepared, or do you like to wing it and just take it day by day? Let me know in the comments below. Personally, I love to get prepared as much as possible. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to have a great day. If you liked this video, make sure to check out my Phase 5 guide. It's the most in-depth video to everything Phase 5 and Sunwell Plateau.